Gone. Every last recipe. Patricia's voice dripped with satisfaction through my phone's speaker. The website, the photos, those ridiculous video tutorials, all of it. Maybe now you'll remember what's really important in life. My hands were shaking, but I kept my voice steady. And what would that be, Patricia? Family, of course. My son needs a proper wife, not some wannabe internet chef. Honestly, Sarah, 5 years of marriage and not even trying for children, it's shameful. My name is Sarah Chen Roberts, and I had spent the last 5 years building the Fusion Kitchen into one of the most successful Asian American food blogs in the country. What had started as a way to preserve my grandmother's recipes had grown into a thriving business with over 2 million monthly readers. And my mother-in-law had just broken into my home office to delete it all. Or so she thought. Well, I said calmly, watching the security camera footage on my laptop, I appreciate you letting me know. That's it. Patricia sounded disappointed. No crying? No begging? I expected more drama from you, Sarah. Sorry to disappoint. I need to go now, client meeting. I ended the call and took a deep breath, reminding myself that everything important was safely backed up in multiple locations. But that wasn't what made me smile. It was the crystal clear video playing on my screen. Patricia, using a key she wasn't supposed to have, sneaking into my office at 2:47 p.m. Patricia, methodically deleting files from my computer for over an hour. Patricia, making a phone call, which my system had also recorded, to someone named Marcus about taking care of the cloud problem. James, my husband, was away at a medical conference, which was probably why she'd chosen today to strike. He'd always tried to play peacekeeper between us, making excuses for his mother's behavior. She's just old-fashioned, he'd say. She doesn't understand modern marriages. But this was different. This was my career, my passion, my livelihood. I picked up my phone again and called my best friend, May. "You're not going to believe what your favorite mother-in-law just did," I said when she answered. "Oh God, what now? Did she reorganize your kitchen again? Replace all your spices with proper American ones?" She broke into my office and deleted my entire blog. There was a moment of silence then. She did Waijiki. I explained everything. The break-in, the deletion, the smug phone call. "But here's the thing," I added. "I've got it all on video." And that call she made, it wasn't just about deleting my work. She's planning something bigger. "Please tell me you're going to destroy her," May said, and I could hear the grin in her voice. "Not yet. First, I need to figure out what she's really up to. The blog deletion seems like just the beginning." After hanging up with May, I started digging deeper into the security footage. Patricia had spent a suspicious amount of time going through my filing cabinet, photographing documents with her phone. She also plugged something into my computer, a USB drive that she carefully removed and pocketed before leaving. I pulled up the backup log on my encrypted cloud storage. Everything was there. Recipes, photos, videos, user comments, everything she thought she'd destroyed. But there was something else. An unauthorized access attempt from an IP address I didn't recognize, timestamped just minutes after Patricia left my office. Someone had tried to hack my cloud storage. Someone with professional skills. My phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. "Dinner on Sunday. No excuses this time. We need to discuss your priorities." I thought about declining, but curiosity won out. What was she planning? And who was this Marcus person she called? Looking forward to it, I texted back. The next morning, I met with Nina, my web security consultant, in a quiet coffee shop downtown. "Someone tried to brute force your accounts," she confirmed, examining the logs on her laptop. "Pretty sophisticated attempt too, not your average hacker. Can you trace it?" Nina nodded, typing rapidly. The attack came from a company called Cyber Shield Solutions. They're a legitimate security firm, but they've been known to take less legitimate side jobs. Any way to find out who hired them? "Give me a few days." "But Sarah," she looked up from her screen, "be careful. This feels bigger than just deleting a food blog." She was right. Patricia had always disapproved of my career, but this level of aggression was new. Breaking and entering, hiring hackers, what was driving her? I spent the next few days pretending everything was normal. I answered client emails, worked on new recipes, and acted like my entire website hadn't just been attacked. The backed-up version was running smoothly on a new server. But I kept that quiet. Let Patricia think she'd won. On Sunday evening, I pulled up to her sprawling suburban home, noting the unfamiliar black SUV in the driveway. James had texted to say his conference was running long. He wouldn't be back until tomorrow. Convenient. Patricia opened the door wearing her usual forced smile. "Sarah, darling, come in. We have a guest I'd like you to meet." The man sitting in her living room stood as I entered. Tall, expensive suit, the kind of smooth confidence that set off immediate alarm bells. "Marcus Thompson," he said, extending his hand. "I'm a family lawyer. Patricia's been telling me about your situation." I kept my face neutral as I shook his hand. So this was Marcus, the man from the phone call. What situation would that be? I asked, taking a seat. Patricia bustled in with a tea tray, her voice syrupy sweet. "We're worried about you, dear. All this time spent on that silly website, neglecting your real responsibilities. Marcus here specializes in marriage counseling and family planning." "How thoughtful," I said, accepting a cup of tea. "And what exactly does that mean?" Marcus leaned forward, all business. "Mrs. Chen Roberts, your mother-in-law has expressed concerns about the direction of your marriage. She believes your online activities have become an obstacle to starting a family. We'd like to discuss options for refocusing your priorities." I took a sip of tea, studying them both. Patricia looked triumphant, Marcus professional, but with an undercurrent of something else. "Threat? Warning? Options?" I prompted. "Yes," Marcus continued. "We've prepared some documents, a new prenuptial agreement, actually, one that would ensure your full commitment to family life." Patricia practically glowed. "It's for the best, dear. James agrees. He's already reviewed the papers." That was a lie. I knew my husband well enough to know he'd never agree to something like this without talking to me first. But I kept my expression curious, interested. "May I see these documents?" Marcus produced a thick folder from his briefcase. As I flipped through the pages, my suspicions were confirmed. This wasn't just about my blog or having children. This was a complete takeover of my life. The new agreement would require me to shut down my business entirely. Any income I earned would go into a trust controlled by Patricia. I would need her approval for any major decisions, from where we lived to how we spent our money. "This is quite thorough," I said mildly. "When would you need my signature?" "Tonight, ideally," Marcus replied. "We'd like to file first thing tomorrow." I closed the folder and set it on the coffee table. "And if I refuse?" Patricia's smile turned cold. "Then we'd have to explore other options. James's position at the hospital is quite dependent on his mother's influence on the board. And of course, there's the matter of your permanent resident status." Ah, there it was. The real threat. Patricia had always held my immigrant status over my head. Even though I became a citizen years ago, she'd never bothered to learn the difference. "I see," I said, standing up. "Well, this has been enlightening. I'll need time to review everything with my home lawyer." "That won't be necessary," Marcus started, but I was already heading for the door. "I'll be in touch," I called over my shoulder. "Thank you for the tea." Back in my car, I pulled out my phone and started recording. Note to self. Sunday, October 15th, 7:45 p.m. Patricia Roberts and Marcus Thompson attempted to coerce me into signing a new prenuptial agreement under threat of interfering with my husband's career and my immigration status. Full security footage of break-in and website deletion attempt available. Sending copies to secure storage now. I had a feeling I was going to need all the evidence I could get. The next morning, I walked into the offices of Wong and Associates, a law firm specializing in both business and family law. Grace Wong, my friend since college, had dropped everything to meet with me when I called last night. "Let me get this straight," she said, reviewing the security footage on her laptop. "Your mother-in-law broke into your house, tried to destroy your business, hired hackers to attack your backup servers, and then attempted to blackmail you into signing away your rights. Don't forget threatening my husband's career and making vague implications about my immigration status." I added, pulling out the documents from last night. "Here's what they wanted me to sign." Grace read through the papers, her expression darkening with each page. Sarah, this is insane. These terms aren't just restrictive. They're practically indentured servitude. And completely unenforceable, by the way." I figured. But what I don't understand is why now. Patricia's always been controlling, but this level of aggression seems extreme. Grace typed something into her computer. Let me look into something. That lawyer, Marcus Thompson. His name sounds familiar. While she searched, I checked my phone. Still no response from James to my messages about coming home early. But there was an email from Nina, my security consultant. Found the money trail. CyberShield Solutions was paid through a shell company owned by Robert's Family Holdings. But here's where it gets interesting. They weren't just hired to attack your blog. They've been monitoring all your communications for months. Call me ASAP. Sarah, Grace's voice pulled me back. You need to see this. She turned her monitor around. On the screen was a news article from 3 years ago. Local attorney disbarred for fraudulent estate planning scheme. The photos show a younger Marcus Thompson being led out of a courthouse in handcuffs. He lost his license for helping wealthy families hide assets from the government, Grace explained. Now he works as a consultant for people looking to circumvent the law. If he's involved. This is about more than just my blog or having babies, I finished. But what's the endgame? Grace pulled up another document. Your company's financials. The Fusion Kitchen is worth what now? Last valuation was around $3.5 million. The cookbook deal I signed last month should push it over $4 million by year's end. And your husband is the sole heir to the Roberts family fortune. I nodded. Patricia's late husband left everything in trust for James. She manages it until he turns 40 or has children of his own. Grace sat back, realization dawning. That's in 6 months, isn't it? When James turns 40. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. Patricia's escalating behavior, the urgent push for grandchildren, the attempt to seize control of my assets. She's trying to maintain control of the money, I said. If James has children, he gets the trust. But if they can force me out of the picture, he might marry someone more amenable to Patricia's influence, Grace finished. Someone who would let her keep controlling everything. I thought about all the suitable young women Patricia was always trying to introduce James to at church functions. The not-so-subtle hints about divorce rates in mixed marriages. She wants me gone before James's birthday, I said. That's why they're moving so fast. Grace was already pulling out legal forms. We need to move faster. First, we document everything. The break-in, the hacking attempt, last night's coercion attempt. Then we go after them for criminal charges. No, I said, an idea forming. Not yet. I have a better plan. Over the next week, I set my plan in motion. First, I had Nina install additional security measures and monitoring software. If Patricia tried to access anything of mine again, we'd know immediately. Then I started posting on my blog again, using the backup site Patricia didn't know about. But instead of my usual recipes, I began sharing stories. Stories about my grandmother's journey to America, about preserving cultural heritage through food, about building businesses and following dreams. The posts went viral. Your traffic has tripled, Nina reported during our daily check-in. And guess who's spending hours reading every post and comment? Patricia. Through multiple devices, she's practically stalking your site, probably trying to figure out how it's still running. Perfect. Meanwhile, Grace helped me prepare the legal groundwork. We documented everything but held off on filing anything. The timing had to be right. James finally came home from his conference, exhausted and distracted. He mentioned his mother had called him about concerns regarding our marriage. She thinks you're unhappy, he said cautiously over dinner. Something about your blog taking too much time. I reached across the table and took his hand. Honey, we need to talk about your mother. And about the trust. His face fell. She told you about that? Not exactly. But I know she's worried about losing control when you turn 40. That's what this is really about. Sarah, he hesitated. I know she can be difficult, but she's just looking out for me. For us. Is that why she broke into our house and tried to destroy my business? His head snapped up. What? I pulled out my laptop and showed him everything. The security footage, the hacking attempts, the illegal contract, all of it. With each revelation, his face grew darker. I had no idea, he whispered. The prenup she mentioned, she said it was your idea, to protect your business. She lied, James. She's been lying about a lot of things. He was quiet for a long moment. What do you want to do? I told him my plan. By the end, he was nodding slowly. Do it, he said. All of it. The next Sunday, we arrived at Patricia's house for the weekly family dinner. This time, I brought my laptop. Sarah, Patricia greeted me with her usual false warmth. I hope you've had time to think about our discussion. Oh, I have, I said brightly. In fact, I've been doing a lot of research about family, about legacy, about fraud. Her smile flickered. Marcus Thompson, sitting in his usual spot, shifted uncomfortably. I don't know what you mean, Patricia said. I opened my laptop and connected it to her large TV screen. Let me show you. For the next 20 minutes, I played everything. The security footage of her break-in, audio of her call with Marcus, documentation of the hacking attempts, financial records showing her mismanagement of the family trust. That's enough. Marcus started to stand, but James cut him off. No, it's not, he said quietly. Keep going, Sarah. I pulled up the final document, a formal audit of the Roberts family trust, showing years of unauthorized withdrawals and questionable investments. You've been embezzling from your own son, I said to Patricia, using his inheritance to fund your lifestyle while trying to prevent him from taking control. That's why you're so desperate to get rid of me. A new wife might let you keep stealing, but you know I won't. Patricia's face had gone chalk white. James, she pleaded, you can't believe these lies. I'm your mother. A mother who tried to destroy my wife's career, James replied. Who hired a disbarred lawyer to threaten her? Who's been stealing from me for years? Everything I did was for you. No, I cut in. Everything you did was for control. But that's over now. I pressed a button on my laptop, and emails started flying out, to the hospital board, to the family lawyers, to the SEC investigators who'd been waiting for evidence of Patricia's financial crimes. You can't do this, Marcus sputtered. You have no right. Actually, Grace said, walking in from the kitchen where she'd been waiting, she has every right. And as the trustees' counsel, I'm obligated to report financial malfeasance when I find it. Within hours, Patricia's carefully constructed world began to crumble. The hospital board suspended her voting rights pending investigation. The family lawyers initiated emergency proceedings to freeze the trust's assets, and Marcus Thompson was taken into custody for practicing law without a license. But the real satisfaction came 3 months later when the Fusion Kitchen published my first cookbook. On the dedication page was a simple message. For my grandmother, who taught me that food is love. For my husband, who taught me that love is support. And for my mother-in-law, who taught me that the strongest recipes are the ones that survive attempts to destroy them. The book became a bestseller. Patricia, under house arrest while awaiting trial for financial fraud, had plenty of time to read the reviews. James took control of his trust early, given the circumstances. One of his first acts was to establish a foundation supporting immigrant entrepreneurs. I still run my blog, now expanded into a multimedia company celebrating cultural fusion through food. Last week, I received a letter from Patricia's lawyer. She wants to meet, to apologize. I haven't decided if I'll go. Some recipes, after all, are better left unchanged. But I did send her a copy of my cookbook. After all, she'd always said family was the most important thing. And now, thanks to her, millions of readers know exactly how I feel about that. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But in my experience, it's best served with a side of justice and a garnish of success. And I've always been good with recipes.